I rise to ask question number 167 of 2015, which is under my name. This question is directed again to the Honorable Minister for Health and Medical Services. Mental health is a major issue in Fiji. Can the Minister inform the House what is being done to address this issue? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I give the floor to the Honourable Minister for Health and Medical Services.
Thank you. I think that I'd like to thank the Honourable Muniwal for his kind words. Mental health is also part of the non-communicable diseases. So when we were talking about NCDs yesterday, one of the things that I mentioned that we need to do is to think right. And this is it is one of the hugely underreported issues in this country. We do not have very good data on how pervasive it is, how very big it is. But if we just take the data from the World Health Organization, which states that mental health constitutes 13% of the global burden of disease, that's even higher than cardiovascular disease and cancer. So they're saying the incidence of mental health is higher than cardiovascular disease and cancer. So if you take that 13% and you apply it to Fiji, you will see, and if you apply that 13% to the population that we have in Fiji, we estimate we have around 615,000 adults in Fiji. So you take that figure and you put it to Fiji, so the estimate that we have around 79,000 people with mental health disorders. Does not mean that they're completely gone off, but they have disorders. That is a huge number. This means about 18,000 with a severe mental disorder, and there are about 61,000 with mild to moderate. But if you compare those numbers with the numbers that actually show up at St. Giles Hospital, only around 1,900 people show up. So it means that those that are turning up is far smaller than the number that have these disorders. I hope you can get the point that I'm trying to make. So in 2011, for instance, if we look at the number that turned up, for severe mental health problems, the number is only 493 received inpatient treatment. So if we take it that these are the ones with severe mental issues that they have, we can say that more than 89% of those who have severe problems in Fiji never turned up. So in fact, it's a huge problem that is underlying our system. It's something that we need to grapple with. And then if you take the mild and severe and the moderate altogether, about 96% of those that have the disorders have not presented themselves to our facilities. So it's another tsunami. In terms of what government has done, government has looked at legislation. It has brought into place the mental health decree, which took over from the old the law that used to be there before, the old Mental Treatment Act. The old Mental Treatment Act forced everything to be centralized at St. Giles Hospital. But the new legislation is trying to take this out so that we can provide the services in other places. So now we're setting up so services can be provided in CWM, in Lautoka, and Lambasa. Because if everything is centralized in Lambasa, what happens is that if somebody has an issue in Lambasa, he has to come to St. Giles, leaving family and friends behind, the support network that you need. So in order to deal with that, we've sort of started to decentralize that. This new mental health decree also includes, very importantly, the principle of care to protect human rights based on principles for the protection of persons with mental illness and the improvement of mental health care, which is adopted by the General Assembly of the World Health Organization. In the new law, it provides wide-ranging powers to the Mental Health Board of Visitors so that they can protect the welfare of the people that are admitted to our mental facilities, and also legislates for a mental health review board that is chaired by a member of the judiciary and has oversight on detention and discharge of persons in mental health units. The new law, for the first time, allows for selected doctors other than psychiatrists to provide assessment and treatment legally for persons with these disorders. Before, it was only in the hands of the psychiatrists at St. Giles. The legislation also allows for mental health care for prisoners and persons in custody, and also provides regulations intended to protect the properties of persons living with mental disorder. There are a number of policy advisory bodies that have been put in place to support activities on mental health, such as the National Committee on Prevention of Suicides. I think that name speaks for itself. Suicide is a major issue for us now in this country. And we also have a National Mental Health Advisory Council that has national monitoring and policy powers. In the area of, I think one of the important things in the areas in health, if you don't have people to deliver the service, then it's useless. You need to have people with the requisite knowledge and skills. So training has been very important. We're very thankful to the Ministry of Education at Fiji National University that a postgraduate diploma course on mental health was started in 2010 for health professionals. And in our Fiji, in our government, we have sent 7 doctors to attend this postgraduate diploma, and these people have now been posted out. They are based in Suva, Lambasa, and Lautoka, now delivering services. The government has also sponsored registered nurses to attend the postgraduate certificate course in mental health. And we have also begun conducting a national community mental health in-service training for selected nurses from health centers and rural hospitals. This has lasted from 2006 to 2010 and trained more than 200 nurses. So initially, everybody that was involved in mental health, they're just stationed in St. Giles. Now we are taking the people that need to deal with mental health and making sure that they're available all around the country so that people can access services around the country. In 2013, working with the WHO, we launched a new mental health training program called the Mental Health Gap Training. This is targeted at nurses and doctors working way out in the nursing stations and in the health centers all around Fiji. And it is designed for them, when they have a patient, to look at the patient, it gives them skills to be able to screen the person, to try to detect early persons at high risk of mental disorder and substance abuse. So that rather than having to wait for them to go into big problems, try to screen them early. And then if there are cases, they can be referred to the specialists. In human resources, government is continuing to increase the number of people that we have as medical officers and nursing posts, and we are now looking at the development of a specialty of psychiatry in other major hospitals, like Lautoka, Lambasa, and CWM. We still need more doctors to specialize in this area. We're also working in partnerships with other organizations, the Fiji Alliance for Mental Health, the Youth Champs for Mental Health, and the Psychiatric Survivors Association, and also working with regional bodies. We're also thankful to other governments, such as that from Taiwan, which has helped our people in attachments for doctors and nurses. And we work in partnership with Fiji Police Force, Fiji Correctional Services, and Ministry of Women and Children and Poverty Alleviation, in looking at people who are vulnerable, homeless. Often those who are in this situation, they're the ones that never been brought up to our system. Those who are well off, they normally come to the hospitals, but the most vulnerable, they are not. I think the Beggar Task Force is an example of this collaboration. And we work also with the National Substance Abuse and Advisory Council in awareness and educational campaigns on drug abuse. Government also has a very good, strong partnership with Empower Pacific, and they are very useful because they provide counseling services in the major hospitals that we have. They provide these services in Lautoka, Lambasa, and CWM. So they complement the work that has been done by the Ministry of Health. In addition to this, initially we just had everything done at St. Giles. Now we have established mental stress management wards in Lautoka, in Lambasa, and also in CWM. So we don't just have the wards in St. Giles, we're beginning to decentralize the service. So it's going out closer to the public. These wards allow the people with mental disorders to receive treatment in a setting that's close to their family, so they can have that also, support from their family. Assessment for treatment and persons with mental disorder are also included in the plans for the new emergency department of Lautoka Hospital and also at the new Bar Hospital. We have now developed a mental health unit within our wellness center, and this strategy is intended to provide a holistic approach towards the health prevention and the health education strategies. The other thing that we have done also is in relation to medication. The process before was the medication was only bought by St. Giles, and then it was sent out by post to all the different hospitals to give to the patients. Now the division of hospitals, they themselves can order the medicines, and then they distribute it to those in the areas that have issues. So that, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, is just a very brief breakdown on some of the things that the Ministry is doing on this area. It is hugely underreported. It is something that we need to work hand in hand to bring to the fore so that more people can be treated. Thank you.
Thank you. We now invite supplementary questions, if any.
Supplementary question, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for the work that had been undertaken by the Ministry of Health for taking care of those that are mentally ill. And also important for preventing those that are not mentally ill not to be affected by that. My question, Madam Speaker, is would be the Honourable Minister also consider setting up a screening process here in Parliament? Especially, Madam Speaker, the sickness, the disease of Alzheimer's disease, which always tend to be a sickness that affected those that are old, to easily forget things. And if that could be also screening to be conducted over here, it's important for honourable members of the House to be all well in all aspects. Because this can be a very big problem if we are here in this House leading the nation and we tend to forget things after we have done it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I invite any other supplementary questions, if any. I will give the floor to the Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker.
There being no, I give the floor to the Honourable Bolitavu.
Supplementary question, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for the mode they are in preventative health and trying to decentralize the services in regards to mental health. Madam Speaker, this is a very funny department in our health services. And on my time, I was at Corvo Prison, and we were remanded with some of the St. Giles hospital. I'll tell you later with some St. Giles patients. You know what happened in the evenings during our lotu? We can't even start a hymn together because of these people who they don't put things together. The problem with these people is when they don't take their medications, and they normally go and commit crime. What can the ministry do for them on those who are known cases, known patients, that there is a follow-up every time, that they do not come to break the law at any point of time? What kind of programs are there with the community to help them adhere to the advice of the doctors?
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think once people are in the institutions and given the work that has been done, for instance, one of the doctors that was trained in that postgraduate diploma, he's also based at Corvo. So now we have that ability for him to manage the activities that are undertaken within the prisons to make sure that people get their medicines on time. When people are in their homes, there needs to be a stronger relationship with the community. We have our zone nurses there. So this is similar to what we do for tuberculosis, for TB. Those are very severe. They go to Tamavua and they have a daily treatment. They have to have their daily medicine, but to make sure that that happens. But now what we're doing at the TB program also, we're having the community docs program, so that in the communities where they are, people are trained and the zone nurses try to make sure that they take their medicine. So I think it needs to be a collaboration between the ministry and our zone nurses who are in the different areas, the community health worker, the nursing corps, and the community as a whole to make sure that they do take their medications.
Thank you. There being no other supplementary question,